How are we doing, YouTube? It's your friendly gamer SmartEntity here. Today we're going to have a complete review on the Secura Dual Cestra. Now this is of course a Syndicate weapon from the Perrin Sequence Syndicate, and it is one of those weapons where it doesn't really do that much, but it's a weapon that you always want to have. So let's have a look at the build first, and then we'll get right into it. So we have 100 straight barrel diffusion, lethal torrent for your base mods. Now this weapon is not a long range weapon, but it has potential for long range. So for that reason, we're not going to use Magnum Force. I'll show you guys the spread of this weapon a bit later. So to finish off with the build, we have Convulsion, Peasant Rounds for Corrosive, Hit a Charge for 90% extra heat damage, and we're going to put in 2 more 60% extra damage mods, so Jolt and Pistol Piston to further that Corrosive. Now, I remember when the Cestra, so the single pistol Cestra, first got released, it was generally sort of considered as a mini Supra. Now that by no means is a compliment, because the Supra is anything but super, because it's pretty horrible with its long reload speed, with its projectile traveling path, i.e. duration, not hit scan, and the fact that it has pretty mediocre damage. It's a pretty horrible weapon, and back in the day the Cestra was a pretty horrible weapon as well. And then the Dual Cestra came out. Now the Dual Cestra, when it came out, the main application for it was pretty much low level speed kill. It has a very nice ammo capacity, it had low damage but it's rapid firing, and back in the days we really didn't have that many good rapid firing secondaries. Of course, a while back the Dex Furious came out, and in my opinion the Dex Furious is the best rapid firing low damage weapon for your sort of low level speed kills. And now it's a Secura Dual Cestra. So again, we have the issue with the projectile traveling speed, duration. We have the issue with the fact that it's got pretty big spread, not the best damage weapon, but overall it is more than adequate. And we'll have a look at the damage numbers on Warframe Builder now to basically explain why that is. Actually, before we go to Warframe Builder, let's have a look at the base stats. So the Secura Dual Cestra compared to the normal Dual Cestra is a complete upgrade. It's not an overall upgrade, or I should say it's not just an overall upgrade in that there's distribution of numbers or anything like that across the physical damage components. It is a complete upgrade in that it only has better numbers. So puncture, we have additional 4, impact we have additional 1, overall 5 additional physical damage, which with modding we know is huge. We have an additional 2.5% status, which is not that big a deal, and we have an additional 2.5% crit chance. Now that is not that big a deal as far as modding goes, but it is a big deal as far as overall DPS contribution goes. Now we'll have a look at Warframe Builder now to give us an idea of what we're looking at. So we have the normal Dual Cestra here, so 1100 total damage, 13,000 sustained DPS, and as far as the Syndicate Dual Cestra goes, we have 13,500 total damage, or about 250 additional total damage, and we have a sustained DPS of just under 16,000, so just under 3,000 overall sustained DPS. Now I have the Dex Furious here as well, because this is a weapon that I generally consider to be the best type of weapon in this class, i.e. the rapid firing, low damage, the type of weapon that's for low level speed kill with high magazine capacity. And as far as total damage goes, it is inferior in that it's about 700, so almost half that of the Secura Dual Cestra. And as far as sustained DPS goes, it's a bit lower in that it's about 14,000, and the reason of course is it has much lower base damage, but it has much higher fire rate. So that's pretty much the justification for it. Now as far as gameplay goes, I will show off some gameplay of the Secura Dual Cestra later on, but I definitely prefer the Dex Furious a bit more, just because it has hit scan, it has a much better long range reliability in that it has lower spread, and of course because of hit scan it doesn't have that traveling projectile, which means it has better accuracy at baseline, and also has much less recoil. So we'll jump into some gameplay now to show you guys how the Dual Cestra Syndicate weapon works. Alrighty, so first of all, let's have a look at how this weapon fires, the spread, the recoil, the range. So I have a range of 20 meters over here, and I'm not going to move my mouse, I'm just going to press the left mouse button. So as you can see, the recoil is pretty big, and the spread is not that pleasant either, but to be fair, the recoil could be compensated if you do move your mouse, as what I'm doing now. Now let's go a bit more extreme, let's do 50 meters. Okay, so I've got 50 meters over here. Now I am going to move my mouse a bit to compensate for the recoil, but have a look at that spread. there's a lot of bullets, but also a very wide spread. So what that pretty much means is if you're facing enemies that are around level 20, you can rely on this weapon to do long range. If it's anything higher, because the amount of bullets that actually hit the enemy is so low, that you can't really rely on this weapon for long range for high level enemies. Now to be fair, we are in a T4 survival here in the beginning of it, so enemies are sort of in the lower 20s, so we're pretty easy dealing with these guys. And as far as damage numbers goes, we're on average looking at about anywhere from 300 to 500, with most of them in the sort of lower 400 range. Now, one thing that I don't usually mention, but it's always there, is, you know, a bullet does 400, but that's actually, you know, not a ammo. So what that means is we got Barrett Fusion, we got Lethal Torrent, so when we fire a bullet, that may very well be doing 3 times, you know, 400 damage. So it applies to every weapon, but just something to consider, because recently I've had a few people saying, you know, you're using a bullet for 400 damage is not a lot, but you gotta remember, you know, there's all that split or multi-shot in there, and that is doing a lot of extra damage. Alrighty, so at the 4.5 minute mark here, which means we can get some bombards and some heavy gunners to have a look at the damage numbers. So we just killed War, and now he's just rambling on and on. I think I heard a heavy gunner back here somewhere. Here we go. So against heavy gunners, I mean, we're looking at the upper 500 because we are modded, i.e. corrosive heat. We are modded for this. We're modded for the Fury armor, so we're doing a bit more damage against these heavy gunners at, yeah, upper 500, just under 400. And we're talking body shots, of course, not hit shots. With hit shots, you can do a lot more damage. But I mean, to be fair, this weapon really isn't a hit, you know, sniper, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But just have a look here. Yeah, that guy just died way too fast. Alright, get rid of these guys. Now I'll try to find a bombard and have a look at how this particular corrosive heat combo works against the bombards, which is alloyed armor. Now to be fair, I've done this quite a lot, and the damage numbers is about 200 to 300, more close to the 300 mark. And of course what you see there is the Syndicate, innate Syndicate power from the Perrin Sequence. Alright, so we've got a bombard over here, and we'll have a look at the damage numbers quickly. So yeah, 300, there was a 344 number that I saw, so basically to 300, a bit lower than your heavy gunners and whatnot, just because we're not really modded for alloy, and a bit lower than your normal enemies because it does have that alloy armor. Now, so just a quick explanation on the Perrin Sequence innate power. So once you reach your max gauge in the bottom right hand corner, again I believe it's 2000 EXP, you do a 1000 radiation AoE damage, which also causes a confusion status effect to enemies in range. In addition, you'll restore 25% of your max shield and provide a base shield boost of 50% for 30 seconds. Now the damage obviously is same as every other weapon, with obviously it's different as far as what the elemental combo or proc is, but the 1000 is pretty consistent. As far as the restore, i.e. 25% shield restore, that is by far the most useless of all the ones that I've seen. From experience, I found the health to be quite useful, especially if you're running solo in Nightmares. I found the energy to be quite good in random squads, or if you're running solo, pretty useless if you got a Trinity or Necros. And to be fair, the health is not as useful if you got a Trinity, but these days Trinities are used more for energy vampire and less so for blessing. Now recently I've run a lot of decently high T2, T3, T4 survivals for your Soma Receiver, Nova Chassis, and the Vastu BP respectively. And I found that the innate Syndicate power is actually really useful as you go, you know, above your sort of 40-minute range, because enemy gives a lot more EXP and it activates a lot. And again, I stand by what I said previously, and that is you can't rely on these innate powers to do a lot of damage, but the fact that they activate literally, you know, once or twice every 30 seconds really does help a lot as far as, you know, contributing to the total DPS. Alrighty, now let's have a final rating of this weapon. So for low level speed kill, this weapon is made for low level speed kill in exterminate type missions, invasion type missions, where you're required to fire here and there randomly, spontaneously, and not just basically unleashing an AoE and kill every enemy, in the room. So I give it a 7 because it does have pretty decent damage and a pretty decent firing rate. The reload speed is not too harsh, but it doesn't deserve a higher number because it is a projectile weapon, and I do still prefer the Dix Furious in these kind of situations anyway. As far as high level utility goes, let's face it, this weapon have no high level utility. By the time you even get to high level, damage aside, you're out of bullets. Yes, of course you can use a ammo pad or a ammo mutation mod, but by using ammo pad you're losing credit and resources. By using ammo mutation you're losing a damage slot. And why use this weapon in the first place for high level when you can use something like the Gamma Core or the Murloc? Now, as far as AoE potential goes, it's not an AoE weapon per se, but because of its fast firing rate, it does allow you to literally spray the room with bullets, and in that sense it gives a bit of an AoE, I guess, potential. And of course it does have the innate Perrin Sequence power, which does a 1000 AoE radiation damage. As far as subjective factors go, now I was a bit conflicted with this type of weapon. It's a lot better in my opinion compared to the Castanas that I was leveling just before this, but it's nowhere near as good as something like the Murloc or the Gamma Core as far as enjoyment goes. But I do feel it's a pretty decent weapon in that it gives you that nice magazine capacity, it gives you that nice reload speed, it gives you a decent damage. So overall I give it a 4. So again, overall, I give it a 4.5. So pretty decent weapon, definitely worth your formas, definitely worth your potatoes, and of course I really need to crit this, but it's over 4. So definitely worth your formas, definitely worth your potatoes, but again, it's not a priority. Forma your Murloc first, forma your Gamma Core first, and then after you got everything else sorted, come back to this weapon and put on that 3 formas, your 3v2 bar overall 5 polarity weapon for that max build. Alright guys, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.